where we left off last week in the introduction of this great scripture. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. The voice is fine. Okay. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Bhubhuva Swaha, Tatsavitravarenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat, Asto Ma Satgamya, Tamso Ma Jyotirgamya, Mrityorma Amritam Gamya. Om Sahna Vavatu, Sahna Bhunaktu, Sahviryam Karvavahi, Tejasvi Navadhitamastu, Ma Vidveshavahi. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om. So we are studying Avadhuta Gita in this class these days. And I gave you some introduction to this scripture, the author, the teachings last time. So a little bit more information before we start the actual text. But scriptures say only a yogi has the right to teach yoga. And as an incarnation of Vishnu, Dattatreya was literally a born yogi. And he had many disciples. He initiated those disciples into yogic mysteries. And I'm going to give you some of the examples of his illuminating instructions to his students. He said, "My children, let me tell you one thing. If you want to attain perfection in tapasya, perfection in japa, the chanting the name of the God, or in yoga, you need tremendous perseverance." Tremendous. And that's where we miss these days. We just make only so much effort and we want to see the result. Tremendous perseverance. He says if you have these qualifications, you can attain anything. Anything you choose, even enlightenment. Or you can have a state of Godhood. Or even a highest position in the heaven or on the earth. Then he said, those who have controlled their minds and senses and who persevere with great energy, there's nothing unknowable, nor is there anything unattainable anywhere. He gives the example also. He says a tiny ant, if it crawls persistently, can travel thousands of miles. On the other hand, a Garud, the king of the birds, the carrier of Vishnu, cannot cross over even a small ditch if he does not make the effort to fly. That's how important this perseverance is. He said, my children, if you want to practice yoga, you must remove all attachment from your heart. This is what Vairagya is. If you cannot do this, then keep the company of the holy people. He said, the company of the holy people is the panacea for the disease of worldliness. Give up all desires. But if you cannot do this, cultivate a desire for liberation. Desire for liberation destroys other desires. If your mind delights in sensual pleasures, you will miss heaven and liberation. He says sensuality leads to misery and bondage, while spirituality leads to happiness and liberation. He calls those people fools who enjoy contact with the body of another. He says, know this, there are three kinds of intoxicants made from molasses, honey, and corn. But there is a fourth, the wine of carnality, which intoxicates the whole world. Wise transcends worldly desires and concentrates on the supreme reality. Then he talks about the mind. The essential ingredients of the human body are controlled by the moods of the mind. When the mind is troubled and unbalanced, the moods become correspondingly unbalanced and devour it. That's why he says mind should be protected by every possible means. Discrimination is possible only when the mind is calm. So that's why calming the mind is the very first practice we need to do. Calming the mind. If the mind is turbulent, we can be in the presence of a God. We won't feel it. Calming the mind. Always discriminate. And what is a discrimination? Distinguish between Atma and the non-Atma. If you have done this, you have reached the culmination of yoga. And as this discrimination grows in the mind of a yogi, he will reason like this, that I am not this body. This body is just composed of earth, water, fire, air, and space. That's what this body is. And a yogi will not cling to the body. Yogi says pleasure and pain, they are alike. They come and go in the body. I am not the body. I am always the same. Serene, peaceful, unmoved by outer events. Again, since I'm not the mind, since my true nature has neither beginning nor end, I am always the same. Serene, perfect, unmoved by inner events. So, not moved by outer events or inner events, because inner events are happening in the mind, and I'm not the mind. And I'm not the outer events. So, no fluctuations with the outer events or the inner events. That is the discrimination of a yogi. Let pleasure and pain, enjoyment and misery remain in the body or in the mind. It matters nothing to me. Why? Because I am Atma. Sat Chit Anand. Existence, knowledge, bliss. Absolute. So this is what a yogi remembers. This is what this great teacher taught to his students. Then he said, if this is true for me, then it is true for all. Atma is one, but it seems to be many. See, we have gone so far away from this truth. We think there are many gods. Over here, this great yogi is telling us even Atma is one. But it seems to be many, living in many bodies. He says, my children. No, he says, my dear children. I have told you briefly about discrimination between the Atma and the non-Atma. People who see duality are always submerged in an ocean of grief. Then he talks about this attachment, the grief from the attachment. He gives the example. He says, if your pet bird is killed by a cat, you feel bad. On the other hand, if the same cat kills a mouse, it doesn't bother you at all. So it is the attachment that brings misery. In non-attachment lies the only true happiness. Again, he says, happiness and misery depend on the distribution of the gunas, the qualities. If there is a preponderance of sattva, a man is happy. And if tamas and rajas prevails, he is unhappy. So in other words, if you want to be happy, cultivate sattvikta. Temptations for the worldly thing is rajsikta. And from rajsikta, it doesn't take that long to turn into tamsikta. He gives us a simile of our life. He says a man's ignorance is like a tree. The ego is its sprout, from which springs up the trunk of attachment, houses and properties as its branches. Wife, children, and relatives are the twigs on which grow the leaves of wealth and crops. Virtue and vice are the flowers. Happiness and misery are the fruits. And this tree, which has grown vigorously throughout untold centuries, now it blocks the path to liberation. It has been watered and nourished by the hypnotic spell of delusion. So we just kept watering this tree. Desire for sense objects is like a cloud of wild bees, he says. They are swarming around the tree. And their humming lulls the people are engrossed in worldly enjoyments. And if we take rest in the shade of this tree, there is no hope for our liberation. But on the other hand, those who have sharpened the axe of knowledge, Gita says the same thing. Those who have sharpened the axe of knowledge, with the help of the company of holy people, because that's where we get the knowledge, company of the holy people. You can chop down this tree of ignorance. Because you remember, what was the sprout? Ignorance, ego. It all started from there. So with the axe of knowledge, with the help of the holy people, you can chop down this tree of ignorance and enter into the quiet, serene park of Brahman. And what is there? Freedom. Freedom from all thorny plants of craving and blinding dust of desire. That's where all the vrittis have ended. And all you see is illumination. He says we are not the result of elements combined with senses. We are the Atma, which is beyond Maya. Another example he gives, he says, as a fish lives in water, yet is different from it. So the Atma lives in the body, but it is different from it. A man, through constant practice of yoga, frees himself from this ignorance and attains this unitive knowledge, which is called mukti, liberation. So liberation originates from yoga, and yoga from discriminated knowledge, and discriminatory knowledge from misery, and misery from attachment. So liberation originates from yoga. So yoga will take us towards liberation. And in order to have yoga, we need discriminatory knowledge. So yoga from discriminatory knowledge. That's why Swadhyaya is so important. Discriminatory knowledge from misery. We got to discriminate. And from misery, from attachment. So it's up to us whether we want to go towards the attachment and misery or whether we want to go towards the yoga and liberation. A person who seeks liberation must shun all forms of attachment. Non-attachment begets happiness. Again, he says, the way to realize the Supreme is purify all sense organs through pranayama. Pranayama brings purity. Purify all sense organs through pranayama, all sense objects through pratyahar. Pratyahar means withdrawing your senses from these outer temptations. All mental evils through dharana. Dharana is a concentration. And finally burn all three gunas through dhyan. Dhyan is the meditation. In meditation, we are focusing towards the reality, the absolute, the God, the soul. That's how we burn the three gunas. As fire purifies metal, so tapasya purifies the body, the senses, and the mind. So that's why he mentioned the tapasya. We see this tapa throughout our scriptures. Tapasya for purification, not tapasya to attain certain powers. You got to remember that. And he talks about the posture also. He says, sit in a comfortable way. There are many postures. You should be able to sit unmoving for a long time in one position. And he gives the instructions to do the meditation. He says in the beginning, keep your eyes slightly open, just enough to see the tip of the nose, like this, which is called a Shambhavi Mudra also. He says, first conquer tamas by rajas, then conquer rajas by sattva, and finally be absorbed in pure Brahma. We cannot just jump from tamas to Brahma. We got to definitely move up like this properly. He talks about the 10 points of concentration. First, the navel. He doesn't start from the Muladhara chakra. He says the navel. Then gradually progressing upward to the heart, the chest, throat, mouth, tip of the nose, eyes, between the eyebrows, forehead, and last of all, on the Supreme Brahma, which is right here, the Sahasrara. So these are the 10 points. He says you can meditate like that. To his students, he gave these instructions. He says when a person reaches perfection in these 10 concentrations, he becomes one with Brahma, free from disease and death. This is the final stage of yoga, he says. And there are few words of caution. Do not practice yoga when you are hungry, tired, or worried. Avoid meditation in a place of extreme cold or heat. You remember in Bhagavad Gita also, Lord Krishna gave certain instructions. So did this Acharya. Avoid meditation in a place of extreme cold or heat. Do not practice yoga near fire or water. In a crowded place. In a dirty pasture. At the junction of 4 roads. Among dry leaves. In a palace. In a cremation ground. Or in any place that may engender fear. Okay? Let me repeat it again. So these are the instructions, just remember, for that time. We don't have to take them literally. Right now our homes are comfortably warm. We have beautiful meditation seats. Okay, our own area. So idea is to meditate. But back then people, you can imagine how they lived. So that's why these instructions are. Don't take them literally, please. But listen to it though. Do not practice yoga near fire or water. Okay, because you got to protect yourself. Because you lose awareness of your body in deep meditation. So you got to protect yourself. In a crowded place, then you can't even meditate because people are disturbing their noises. Or a dirty pasture. Dirty place, there could be worms over there. There could be other critters there. Junction of 4 roads. People are coming and going and vehicles are coming and going. Among dry leaves. In a palace. In a cremation ground. Or in any place that may engender fear. He says environment plays a vital role in the practice of yoga. Okay, so when we are practicing, it definitely makes a difference. Ultimately, if you have mastered all, then doesn't even matter. But in the beginning, it does. Shun evil company. Later, when your mind is filled with God consciousness, neither space, nor time, nor company will be able to disturb you. Okay, that's what I was telling you earlier. In the beginning, we have to follow these. Later on, it doesn't matter. But if you start thinking, no, it's not going to matter to me, it does matter. Yoga can be very effective. If you feel hot, meditate on snow. If you are cold, concentrate on fire. If you're if you find that your mind is restless, think that you are a vast, motionless mountain, that nothing can shake you. Some signs of a yogi. How do you know that you are progressing? A yogi's body is free from disease, and a beautiful fragrance emanates from it. His mind is calm and free from cruelty. His face is serene, his voice sweet. His entire complexion is bright. His body excretes little. People love to praise him in his absence. See, normally we love to praise people in their presence, but people praise him in his absence. He fears no one, nor is he feared by any. The theme of Avadhuta Gita is the unitive knowledge obtained through mystical vision, the knowledge of the eternal self. And this knowledge is not limited to the mystics of only one cultural tradition, but it is universal. Universal among all those who have attained to mystical vision. People of all lands, all religious persuasions have experienced firsthand this eternal reality. Some of the best known representatives of this universal knowledge are definitely the Upanishadic rishis and Shankaracharya ji. In the Sufi tradition, Jalaluddin Rumi. In the Buddhist tradition, Shakyamuni and Ashwaghosh. And even in Christian tradition, Meister Eckhart and some other traditions also, other religions. It is universal. They all have expressed the revealed knowledge of their identity with the one eternal reality. What did they declare? They said, me is God. This is by one Christian saint. My me is God, nor do I recognize any other me except my God himself. This is oneness. And this is what Dattatreya is saying. Let me repeat it. My me is God, nor do I recognize any other me except my God himself. Throughout history, it has been known the contention of the mystics of all cultural traditions that the vision of God reveals man's essential oneness with absolute being. And this is how we are awakened to our true identity. We can call it by different names. Some people call it enlightenment. Some call it union with God. Some call it liberation, salvation, nirvana, whatever they call it. So despite the various names, the same experience, the same knowledge, which is revealed to all of those people who have attained the mystical vision. So experience is the same. Name could be different. But prior to such illumination, there's a suffering. They say the man suffers under the mistaken illusion that he is limited, he is finite, he is separate, he is distinct. But after the experience, there's no suffering. Previous to the revelation of our absolute identity, we are confident about our individuality. We think this is the self. But the mystics, they say, the people who have experienced, they say, that the superficial play of thoughts, memories, sense impressions, this is superficial. The screen of all this, where all this is happening, is the awareness, which is the soul. And that awareness is unchanging consciousness. That awareness is the eternal witness of all the movements of thoughts, of appearances. It is that which is our real, our only self. So that's why this song of Avadhuta is the most sublime and uncompromising statements of this experience or the mystically perceived truth which has been penned. Sure, it's an Indian origin, but it's a common direct experience throughout. And why is he sharing it with us? This illumined sage who has directly experienced or this was revealed truth to him, what is his aim? Why did he share it with his students? And why one of his students put it into this as a book for us? Aim is that this sharing is not to convince us. There's no logic, there's no discussion over here. It is to awaken us to our truth, not to convince us. It is to liberate us from our own error. This is a compassion in the heart of these great gurus. So this Avadhuta Gita is a call to knowledge, the supreme knowledge of the ultimate truth. Sometimes these verses, you will see that they are so simple, What is so great about it? But this is something we need to experience. So you can see that author of this Avadhuta Gita, because we really don't know who the author is actually. Because according to the style and the language, it's a modern style. But the author also was most certainly a self-realized yogi and a master of the Sanskrit language also. So the author was also a great teacher, because Dattatreya ji is only references given about him at the end of each chapter. So the author did not want to take ownership of the writing. As we learned last week, Dattatreya, the legend goes that he was born to sage Atri and his chaste wife Anasuya, which happened long ago, but the writing happened recently. Dattatreya ji got this name Avadhuta when he renounced his royal heritage to become a wandering ascetic. That means naked and free, far from the distractions of worldly people. After that, this Avadhut term became a generic term for all those homeless sadhus and even the yogis of India who live the life of total renunciation, unconcerned with the world as its civilized contentions, in order to remain concentrated on and identified with the eternal self. So it became a generic word for those kind of sadhus, avadhuta. So actual date of authorship of the Adhut Gita is unknown, but it can be only judged that it is sometimes around 9th or 10th century of the current era, according to this style of writing. But it could have been passed on orally, like an oral transmission to that point in time, just like the Vedic literature has been. And the theme of this great scripture is the self, so that we can experience self. It speaks not of the soul or of God, but speaks rather from the experiential awareness in which that subject-object relationship no longer exists. Only one. It is a song of the final, ultimate reality, I. You will see some of the terms over there used: Brahm, Purush, Shiva. They all represent the absolute self. His intention to use these terms is to demolish all sense of duality from the concept of a God, separate from us. There's only one. To be sure, few people are capable of reaching such heights of knowledge. And fewer still are capable of sustaining or having that kind of endurance in the current atmosphere. For this reason, a guide such as Avadhut is very necessary and comforting. Too many temptations to take our mind, to take our time away from this reality. Too many doubts come in our mind. So that's why guide is needed who can just keep us on this path. So that's what he does. He leads us confidently upwards. Otherwise, we are constantly running horizontally. Do this, do that. But he wants to take us upward over the rugged terrain of thought and into the remote realms of unconditional awareness. And if we keep on following him into these heights of unitive knowledge, we will definitely share some measure of this experience. You will see that once we start reading these verses, reading only a few verses of this Avadhuta sage, our minds will immediately be lifted to a realm of calmness and certainty. That is the power of these verses. In a very simple language, that's why I said that the language and the style is recent. And if we read few more verses, you will see that you will become immovable, unruffled, secure. You will be recalled into your own eternal self, which somehow we have forgotten. We are part of God, or we are children of God, or we are God, whatever you want to call it, but we have forgotten that truth. So these verses will, if we study them properly, understand them, and meditate with it, and try to do other practices of yoga, they have a very powerful effect. Just by reading, I would say, just if you know Sanskrit, start reading every night, couple of verses. Simply by reading the words of this master guide, you feel lifted into the freedom and exaltation of your pure awareness. And if you are capable of tasting a little of the sweet nectar of this, little deeper, you will feel your own intrinsic bliss. So that is the beauty of this scripture. So having a faith in it, understanding it, simple writing, we'll just definitely read few verses every week. And I want you to ask questions. I want you to understand them, but don't leave it at the understanding level. Try to experience it too. Because that's what he wants us to do. Experience our true nature. Because once you experience it, that's where this journey starts also, ends also. Experience. So 11:15, any question? Otherwise, we can start meditating.
Hershji, I have a question.
Sure.
Is the word Gita in the book, is it just refers to a story, or what's the purpose of the word Gita?
Song. That means song, poetry.
Song. Okay.
It's written in poetry. Just like Bhagavad Gita is written in poetry. Geet means song.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
And then, okay, the second question is that mystical, I just always thought it means something different than liberation or enlightenment, but it seems like you're saying it's the same meaning.
It's the same meaning.
Okay.
It's the same meaning. Yes.
So mystical experience is the same thing as enlightenment.
Exactly. You really experience it firsthand. Okay. So that's why those are called mystics.
I know the mystic always just takes you to
because
somewhere.
This is a mystery.
I know. That's why it's
This
okay.
is a mystery. Didn't Lord Krishna also called it a Raj Vidya Raj Guh Yog? It's a mystery. Mystery means it cannot be understood by this Prakriti.
Okay. Mm.
It is so profound. Isn't it profound that God is everywhere? But we are trying to just only see him through these gross eyes.
Prakriti. Uh-huh.
It is in front of us, it's in us, it's above us, below us. But we still get lost into the direction, into the form, into the colors. So mystical experience really means that mystery has been experienced by those mystics. That became their experience. And that's what this great yogi wants us to experience. This is not just for only few, this is for everybody. And that's why I mentioned different, the gurus or the prophets of different religions. That's what they were crying for. But we did not understand their messages. We just created more divisions. They were all unitive. Their call was that we are all one. Whether somebody said Ek Onkar or whether somebody said Allah, all those prophets, or I mean, no matter which name they used, they were taking our attention towards that oneness. But we are so deluded, almost like fools. With the name of God, also, we want to keep on dividing. So, this mystical experience we have to have. And that's why we are in this beautiful human body to have this experience. Dog cannot have this, a plant cannot have it. And we don't know how long we've been traveling as the dogs and the cats and the rats. But this time around, we have a beautiful body of a human being, and we are supposed to have this experience. And that's what these great teachers are telling us. Okay, anybody else? Any question?
Harshi, can I say one little thing from this Shankaracharya, the Janavali? There is only 4 lines, but
Okay.
it's very nice. It's pertaining to
Quickly,
this.
quickly,
It will,
Sumadra. Okay,
no,
because we
it
have to
just
start meditation.
it's one sentence. It's
Okay.
asangoham, asangoham,
Mhm.
asangoham, punah punah, sachidananda rupoham, aham eva avyaya.
Yeah, yeah,
That
that's
is
right.
that is all I was trying to say. That's it. That means that we are free, and it
Yes.
says unattached am I, and even free from attachment of any self, any kind. I am of the nature of existence, consciousness, bliss. I am the very self, indestructible and ever unchanging. If only we can practice that, and which I'm working on.
Yeah,
That's
we
all.
need to just keep on practicing, keep on remembering. That's why we come to these classes, or you go somewhere else. This is all the isms, all the saints, all the prophets are saying the same thing. Okay, so let's try to meditate. So even after this, if you have any questions tomorrow morning before the class, just come, or next week Thursday, ask the questions. Okay, I'm not trying to shun the questions away, but I want you to get into the practice of meditation every single day. Okay, so I'm gonna put this music on. It's just a Om chanting, sound of Om, and keep your back straight. Back straight. Okay, if you're sitting on a chair, don't lean back, please. This is perseverance. This is practice. Back should be always straight. Okay, not tense, straight. Shoulders comfortable. Facial muscles. See, that's why he said upper teeth and lower teeth, they should not touch each other. He just gives all these instructions beautifully. So make sure you follow that. Okay, whatever we talked about earlier. So I'm going to just put this on. And just like last week, we will just, when I say Om at the end, um, let me do the Shanti mantra. And after the Shanti mantra, I'll start this. And when I say Om, Jyoti, you can end the class, okay? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.